What am I getting myself into? The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess was a game that embodied hype when it first revealed at E3 2004. On the heels of a cartoony Wind Waker, gamers the world over was incredibly excited for the new, dark, realistic Zelda. Of course, I was going nuts over the reveal as well. As time passed by, before the release of the game, Twilight Princess was looking to be the biggest and boldest and best Zelda game to date. Then, the game finally released to critical acclaim and commercial success, and many people did believe that it was the best Zelda game ever. Now, don't get me wrong, Twilight Princess was great and indeed was a big, bold adventure with many memorable moments, great gameplay, and combat. But the game was severely lacking in many regards in areas that I felt kept the game back from truly being a title of gaming nirvana. Even Shigeru Miyamoto admitted that he felt something was missing from Twilight Princess. Well, Mr. Miyamoto, I feel the same way. There was something missing from Twilight Princess, and it did have problems. Now with the confirmation of Twilight Princess HD and the hype coursing through our veins, Nintendo has a chance to rectify the mistakes of Twilight Princess as they did in the Wind Waker HD for the original Wind Waker. Let's take a look at the problems of Twilight Princess and how Nintendo could potentially fix them in Twilight Princess HD. HMK brings you the problems of Twilight Princess. Before I get into anything else, I'd like to point out that this video is going to mainly target the gameplay, progression, and in-game additions and directions and sound of Twilight Princess. I won't be discussing the game's graphics and aesthetics, as I believe that Twilight Princess's realistic design should have been seen as something that may not have aged well in its transition to HD. Okay, for starters, the game was pretty much on point in more areas than it wasn't. I'm definitely not saying that this was a bad game by any means. It's just that it had so much untapped potential in terms of combat, weapon and item usage, map, characters, story, polish, progression, design, and puzzles. They all get an A+ from me. However, areas like enemy AI, difficulty, music quality, and the barren overworld and the freaking bosses. Keep it together, HMK. And a couple more areas put a damper on the game's incoming legacy. But how about we further identify each problem in detail? Let's start with what is Twilight Princess's biggest feature, its overworld. It's true, this game is marketed to be the biggest Zelda adventure at the time, and for the most part, they were right. The overworld was massive, and exploring the field on foot was a ridiculous thing to even advise. A map like this got me and many Zelda fans excited due to the prospect of many dangers and enemies that we could encounter. From the first couple of Twilight Princess trailers we see, Link is constantly battling against enemies on his horseback in certain areas of the field that would make one believe that the field has occupied sections to be wary of. Developers even stated that enemies will be abound during the day, but beware of the night as more will be on the prowl. All of this, along with the call-in recovery mission, had us all in high hopes. Then the game released and... Seriously? Anyone here? Come on, really? I will tell you guys right now, I did not at any moment in the game feel like I was in legitimate danger on the field unless a story event was happening. For crying out loud, there's only 3 Bulbos and a total of 6 Bulbins that show up on the Elden side of the field. Them attacking you is a slight harassment at best. Other areas, we have the occasional Lizaflow and arrow-wielding Bulbins, but all of this was so disappointing. In the Colon recovery mission and the Telma escort mission, the field was crawling with these assholes. So what? Do they just wait in a cave or something for you to get to an important part of the story? Traversing in Zelda games shouldn't be a walk in the park, which here it totally feels like, and especially in the largest overworld we have to date. A simple fix to this issue is simply add more enemies and even events to the field. The Wii U's hardware should have no problem in producing more dangers in the areas devoid of life in Twilight Princess HD. Make us feel that the land outside of the safety of towns are truly dangerous and treacherous. Let's talk about music for a bit. Twilight Princess has one of the most iconic and epic soundtracks in the Zelda series. Its score is arguably the best in the series when it comes to arrangement. However, all of it was done through MIDI. For those who don't know, the soundtrack wasn't produced with a live orchestra and was done completely through a digital interface. Does it sound bad? Not really. Is it noticeable? Oh yeah. Can the quality be leagues better? Hell yeah! Koji Kondo has lamented the fact that he wasn't able to orchestrate the score of Twilight Princess, and honestly, MIDI tracks lack a certain punch and crisp to their tunes. Well, now is the chance to fully orchestrate and recreate the majesty of Twilight Princess's soundtrack and bring it to the standard that these epic melodies command. Another area that Twilight Princess seemed to fall short is in the item usage. Now, don't get me wrong, the items in Twilight Princess were pretty expansive and pretty cool. I loved using them. However, a bunch of them were severely contextual to certain areas and segments of the game. What I mean by this is some items like the spinner, Gale Boomerang, and the Dominion Rod was only useful in very small portions of the game, along with very few side activities, while items like the bow, hookshot, and bombs take center stage for the entirety of your adventure. In Skyward Sword, Nintendo knew how to structure the game's progression and puzzles so that it'll make use of your entire arsenal throughout the entire game. Twilight Princess doesn't, and because of that, it gives the items less worth and makes them no better than glorified keys. In Twilight Princess HD, they can have more uses for these shunned items and perhaps incorporate them in more ways when dealing with enemies or the environment, which segues into my next point. A pretty common complaint about Twilight Princess was the difficulty. When considering everything that the game includes, bosses, level designs, puzzles, enemy AI, there are some challenges to be had, but deaths were low to none, unless you decide to do the 3 heart challenge. Now, something they can do in Twilight Princess HD is obviously add a hero mode to the game, but I think a Link Between Worlds hero mode would be good, where the damage is quadrupled rather than doubled. However, that alone won't truly make the game's difficulty rise too much. We need better enemy AI and movements. Honestly, this game needs to borrow a bit of tech from the Wind Waker and make enemies less scared to go in and attack you. Don't get me started on Stalfos and Twilight Princess. They are a freaking joke. Not because of their AI, but because of the fact you can smoke these fools with a single bomb. Are you serious? One thing I noticed about Twilight Princess is that enemies aren't completely easy to deal with per se, but what is easy is landing hits on them thanks to their constant waiting and the hitting skills. If the AI for the enemies was a bit faster and allowed them to defend better, then I believe they'll be a little bit more of a threat. And now we get to the bosses. Oh man, the bosses. Easily the most disappointing part of Twilight Princess. Seriously, these guys were brain dead. Some of the mid-dungeon bosses provide more of a challenge than all of the supposed Master of the Temples. This aggravates me beyond reason, especially since the bosses of Twilight Princess have some of the best designs in the series. They seem to talk the talk, but they are nowhere near of walking the walk. Diababa, OG, pointing and clicking your Gale Boomerang to get bombed from point A to point B. Expose weak point. 8 level 1 sword hits to defeat. Whoopee. Fyrus. Let me walk around very slowly for you to tug on my chains to trip me and happens to put my fires out. Oh, and if that is giving you trouble, you can always smack my big ass target of a jewel on my forehead to give you like an arrow to do what? Like 12 level 1 sword hits to defeat me? So hard. Morpheal. In my second phase, I will not hurt you. No lie. This looks pretty epic when you do damage to it in its second phase. Most of the boss fights do. But boss fights need to be more than epic. 16 level 1 swords hits to defeat. Sounds like a lot, but it really isn't, given how easy it is to get those second phase hits. Star-Lord. Hey guy, want me to just chill and wait for sweet death to take me in the form of your sword? Okay! Seriously, this guy was like quick time event the boss in terms of Zelda bosses. 20 plus level 2 sword hits to defeat. Once again, sounds like a lot, but he just gives you so much time to hit him once he's stunned in the second phase of the battle. Is this really a boss? Blazetta. Nintendo should be ashamed of themselves for even trying to call this a boss. I don't even get to use my Master Sword. Seriously, the telegraphs from this boss is so blatant you can see that shit from space. 10 ball and chain hits to defeat. Seriously, I hate bosses that only take one item to take out. Armagoma. Are you serious? This whole boss fight, if you want to call it that, is freaking whack-a-mole on easy mode. Oh, and if you went to Chuck E. Cheese's when you were little, that damn Spider Squish game. I'm thinking that the boss designers took their kid one day and saw it and like, hey guys, wouldn't that be a great idea for a boss fight? No! God damn, this fight was atrocious. It only took 3, that's right, count them, 3 stone soldier hits to take out Armagoma. And then the spider eyeball, you can either smack it up with some arrows, some sword hits, or maybe one bomb arrow. I don't care. This fight. Argorok. Oh boy. This fight isn't even hard, it's just tedious as hell. So once again, it's pretty much impossible for seasoned Zelda players to get hit by this thing. Time to play Slam the Dragon twice. That's right, twice, to reveal and engage its second phase. Oh my god, he's ugly! Ahem. Next up, you just have to scale the pillars to slap him up with 12 sword strikes to take him down. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Boss fights shouldn't be easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let's also add the fact that boss fights other than Star-Lord, Blizzetta, and Armagoma can shave off 4 strikes off their battles by using the finishing blow, all which makes the fight even more easier and less time consuming. The only boss that gave me some trouble was Zant, and he wasn't even that hard. He just switched up his strategy and setting every time you landed some good damage on him. It was enjoyable, but never really pushed me. All he was doing was delaying the inevitable. Jesus. And then we get to Ganondorf. Oh boy, Ganondorf. You know what? I'm gonna quote a little magazine that I'm not too fond of, really. It's called Game Informer. Ugh. In one of their editorials, they were talking about disappointing boss fights, and the final battle against Ganondorf was one of them. They put it like this: in the end, we were getting hyped up to face Darth Maul, and all we got was C-3PO. True words. Like, really? The end-all boss fight to this game was more than just brain dead, with extremely visible reads, easily activated and winnable struggles, and this.
Oh my god, what is this wondrous device?
It's a fishing rod.
I see. What is fishing?
It's when you use something like this to try and catch fish from the water.
Miraculous! Where I come from, we do not have access to water, let alone fish that we can go fishing for. Where did the rod for fishing go? Where are you, my new friend? Wait a minute!
Booyah!
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did.
So what Twilight Princess HD needs to do is make these bosses more challenging and increase their damage scaling, because none of them felt like a threat at all. They all looked like one, but nope, didn't feel like one. Nintendo can add small or distinct changes to the boss's behavior and or formula. They were able to do so in Majora's Mask 3D, so I believe they can do it in Twilight Princess HD. Oh, HMK, they didn't need to do that in Wind Waker HD. Well, because they didn't fucking need to! The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is far from a bad game. It's one of my favorites, but that's not going to keep me from admitting that the game is flawed, and I feel that this video addressed some of the biggest in the game that can be fixed in Twilight Princess HD. Nintendo truly made me a believer with the advent of Wind Waker HD. I also thought that the Wind Waker had some striking flaws that held the game back, including the Triforce quest and the sailing mechanics. But Nintendo addressed those issues and made the Wind Waker HD a wholly enjoyable experience. 10 out of 10! If Nintendo truly focuses on the aspects of Twilight Princess that was weak, and maybe add more cool features in Twilight Princess HD, then I believe that we have a game that can rival all the greats in gaming. Do you think Twilight Princess needs improving? Please leave your thoughts and comments below. While you're at it, hit that like button, share the video with all your fellow Zelda fanatics, favorite the video, and most importantly, subscribe to HMK for more videos like this one. And until the next one, I've been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.